Hello, this is Mrs. LaCroix, one of the third grade teachers. We are going to read A Christmas Carol written by Charles Dickens. This is known as a classic. When you are maybe in middle school or high school, you might have to read it for your teachers. And some of you may have heard part of the background about it with Scrooge and the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future coming to visit. So hopefully that got your mindset going for the story. Chapter 1, Marley's Ghost. Marley was dead. He was dead. There was no doubt about that. He was as dead as a doornail. Marley and Scrooge were business partners a long time ago, but when Marley died, the firm became owned by Scrooge, a stingy and heartless old man. It was Christmas Eve, and old Scrooge sat busy in his office counting his money. It was very cold outside. In Scrooge's office it was not much warmer, for he was too cheap to purchase coal. Suddenly a cheerful person entered the office. It was Scrooge's nephew. "A Merry Christmas, Uncle! God save you!" Fred said. "Bah!" said Scrooge. "Humbug!" "A Christmas humbug, Uncle?" said Scrooge's nephew. "You don't mean that, I'm sure." "I do," said Scrooge. "What's Christmas time to you? You have to pay bills without money. You're a year older, but not an hour richer. Keep Christmas in your way and let me keep it in mine." "Keep it? But you don't keep it," said Scrooge's nephew, who was a very friendly young man. He even tried to cheer Scrooge up and invite him for dinner on Christmas Day, but Scrooge said no and sent him out. When Scrooge's nephew left, two gentlemen came to collect money for the poor, those who had no place to go or food to eat on this Christmas. Stingy Scrooge, however, didn't give the gentlemen a penny. "Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?" he asked sarcastically. Then he told them to leave the office. When it was time to close the office, Scrooge spoke rudely to his clerk, Bob Cratchit. "You want all day off tomorrow, don't you?" said Scrooge. "If that's okay, sir," answered the clerk. "It's not okay," said Scrooge, "and it's not fair. After all, I have to pay you for the day, although you don't work. But if it must be, I want you to start work even earlier the following morning." Cratchit promised that he would, and the two went home. Scrooge lived all alone in an old house. The yard was very dark and scary that night, and when Scrooge attempted to unlock the door, he had the feeling that he saw old Marley's face reflected in the knocker. It seemed rather spooky, but Scrooge was not frightened easily. "Humbug!" he said as he opened the door and walked in. He locked the door behind himself, however, which he usually didn't do. He felt safe again and sat down before the fire. Suddenly Scrooge heard a noise deep down below, as if somebody was dragging a heavy chain. The noise came nearer and nearer, and then Scrooge saw a ghost coming right through the heavy door. It was Marley's ghost, and his chains were long, and they were made of cash boxes, keys, and heavy purses. "Who are you?" said Scrooge. "In life I was your partner, Jacob Marley." "But why do you come to me now?" "I must wander through the world and wear these chains because I was so stingy in life. I only cared about money and not about the people around me. Now I am here to warn you. You still have a chance, Ebenezer. 3 spirits will come to you before morning. Expect the first one very early when the bell tolls 1. When he had said these words, Marley's ghost disappeared, and the night became quiet again. Scrooge went straight to bed without undressing, and he fell asleep immediately. So there's a picture of Scrooge, and there's a picture of Marley, the ghost of Marley. Chapter 2. The first of the 3 spirits. When Scrooge awoke, it was very foggy and extremely cold, and the streets were deserted and dark. Marley's ghost bothered him. He didn't know whether it was a dream or not. Then he remembered the spirit was supposed to come visit him around 1 o'clock. So Scrooge decided to remain awake and see what happened. Suddenly the clock struck 1. A light flashed up on the room, and a small hand drew back the curtains of his bed. Scrooge found himself face to face with the visitor. It was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white as if with age, and yet the face had not a wrinkle in it. "Who and what are you?" Scrooge asked the ghost. "I am the ghost of Christmas past. Rise and come with me." The ghost took Scrooge back in time to a place where Scrooge was a boy. There Scrooge could see his younger self playing with other children. They were cheerfully running around the Christmas tree, and although they were poor, they had lots of fun. The spirit also took Scrooge to a warehouse where Scrooge once worked as a young apprentice. Scrooge witnessed the Merry Christmas Eve they spent in the office with their boss, Mr. Fezziwig, and his family. There was food and music and dancing, and everybody was happy. So there's a picture of them dancing, and everyone's happy. And there's another picture. Then the spirit took Scrooge to yet another place. Scrooge was older now. He was not alone. But sat by the side of a beautiful young girl, Belle. There were tears in her eyes. "It's so sad to see," she said softly, "that another love has displaced me, your love of gold. Your heart was full of love for me once, but now I think it's better for us to part. May you be happy in your new life you have chosen." "Spirit," said Scrooge, "show me no more. Take me home. Why do you torture me?" "One shadow more," said the ghost. They were in another scene and place, a room not very large or handsome, but full of comfort. There was a happy family celebrating Christmas with all their warmth and heartiness. Scrooge recognized Belle, his former girlfriend. She was married now and had children of her own. "Belle," said her husband with a smile, "I saw an old friend of yours this afternoon. Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window and saw him counting his money. I could see him there. His partner is dying, I hear, yet there he sat alone counting his money on Christmas Day. Quite alone in the world, I do believe." "Spirit," said Scrooge in a broken voice, "take me back. I cannot bear it any longer." He argued with the ghost to take him back, and finally Scrooge found himself in his own bed again. He was very exhausted and sank into a heavy sleep. I am going to stop there, and you will answer to the discussion question.